It's a new week in the Crew Motorfest, and this is the last week of the year, and there is a car up for grabs. It's the HOLI DAZE Summit Guide. Let's go. All right, real quick before I get into it, if you want any of my tunes, you can go to militiagamingco.com, click on Motorfest Pro settings from the top, and there you will find all of the tunes for all of the cars that I've touched. All right, let's get into it, man. The cars for this week in the Summit bundle are the Nissan GT-R 50 by Ital Design, the Porsche 718 Spider, and the Aston Martin DBS. Now, you're going to need a few additional vehicles. I recommend the Taycan Turbo S Thunder Edition. If you don't have the Thunder Edition, use the regular. And then the AMG 1 or the Cento Dieci. Both of those work pretty well on the course that I'm going to recommend them for. And then you'll need a drag vehicle of choice for the speed trap. Make sure you have a Nitrochemist set of parts with Pure and Frenetic. You'll also need an AGP car with Score Breaker with Pure and Skilled. And then finally, a boat of choice. I chose the 1414 Demon, but you can literally use any of them so long as you have a Score Breaker set of parts with Pure and Skilled. All right, the keys to this summit for sure are going to be the shortcuts. There's a ton of them in this particular summit, so don't kill me in the comments for this. Listen, I'm just trying to give you guys the best possible tips, and it doesn't make a great video if I just say drive mediocre directly on the road. Anyways, let's get into it, man. Here are the pro settings, then we'll get into the events. All right, the first event is called the Traversal, and this is using the brand new Bugatti Barchetta Special Edition. This thing looks really, really cool. Looks very similar to the other one, but it handles very, very well. It's way more nimble than the base model Barchetta. So anyways, let's get into it, man. There's only a couple of cuts on this race, but they are definitely going to save you a bunch of time. So let's fast forward to the first one. This corner at 2%, you can kind of cut it a little bit. I did it a little bit poor on that one. And then you're going to cut after the bridge right here. Again, not the most optimized line, but you get the picture. Let's fast forward. All right, going into these two corners before you hit the actual like bridge highway thing that takes you to Maui, it's pretty important to hit these gutters because the car's too fast to take these corners normally. So you want to hit these gutters if you can. And then try to keep as much speed going into this because you're going to nos over this hill right here. Go straight, nos in between the trees, nos again in the air, and get yourself up to speed. Now, this last cut is actually kind of optional. For me, I was going too fast to try to control myself with some really good braking and then make this turn. I just went straight across the grass. And you can choose to do that as well, but I also hit one of the brick walls to sort of slow me down a little bit. So I'll show you here. You can kind of cut to the right, then to the left, then straight across. I hit a brick wall to slow down a little bit, and then I caught this gutter. So that's kind of the procedure that I took, but if you can kind of control yourself through that section, you can probably do it a little bit faster. This just was more consistent for me. All right, the next event is called Cross City, and for this one, I'm using the AMG 1. It's a brand new car. In the Elite bundle, you can find it in the store as of today, but you don't have to use this car. You could use the Cento Dieci, you could probably use the Agera, you could probably use the T50. It's whatever car really feels better to you, but to be honest with you, the car feels really good and it has very good traction, very good acceleration, and that is beneficial in this race. So anyways, there's a lot of shortcuts in this race. It's a race that I found pretty fun actually because of those shortcuts. And they're really designed shortcuts. You can tell because all of the candy canes and all of the decorations and all that stuff is like littered throughout these shortcuts. So this first one I'll show you is after this second turn here. So you make this right, and you're going to go straight through these barriers. Control your speed as best you can across the grass, in between the candy cane and the building, and you're good to go. get wide so you can make this turn, control speed through this section. Very easy to overdrive this. Then there's a corner cut here on this right-hander. The car jumps a little bit. I would say start turning right before it jumps. Notice the little bump. Start turning right before that and you can make this corner. Slow down right after this bridge. Make a right after this checkpoint flag. Go through the presence. Make a left. I did a little wall tap. Not a big deal. Then you'll end up going straight through here. Around this candy cane. You can actually full throttle this. These walls really slow you down quite a bit. So if you take this line sort of right at the checkpoint, just full throttle through there, this stuff will slow you down enough to make the turn. Just don't do it like to the left of the checkpoint flag. Make sure on the right side. You'll see how it slows me down enough to take the turn. Stay wide on this side and go left. Left again here, cut across. So it's just like shortcut after shortcut after shortcut. Now you may look at the mini map and go, yeah, there's a shortcut there, but there's really not, because there's a wall right here and there's not really any way to get around it. So gotta slow down for this one. Watch the candy canes, they don't move. On this side, cut across the grass. Make sure you cut across here. Try to stay as tight as possible to the right side. Again, control speed, go left. This is another shortcut. The game wants you to go around this wall. You can go to the left of it. Now, after this turn at 83, you're going to go straight across through these presents. Hit the bridge, get some air nos. Slow down as much as you can and cut this corner on the house or by the house. And again, cut this corner here on the left side. And nos to the finish. And you're done. All right, the next event is called Track Day, and this was with the GTR 50 by Ital Design. There's not a whole lot of trickiness to this course, so I'm just going to give you as much tips as I possibly can. Don't drift as you see me drift. This corner, it's much better if you use the gutter. And in this section, you can really go for top speed here. Get into 5th and 6th and start blasting the nos. By the time you get to that corner, you want to be in the 280 range. When you get to the bottom of this hill, you can use the tires to slow you down. And then throw it into 3rd and cut off the wall there. This corner here is something that you can drift or try to grab this gutter. I took it fairly slow. It was a very safe attempt for me, but I think you can take this a lot faster than 130. As long as you hit this gutter, you'll be okay. You can also drift it. And then the following corner here in the left, you want to take this gutter as much as possible. I missed it. It's pretty important to hit that one. Again, this gutter here is also pretty important to hit. You want to make sure you can hit all 3 of those. And that's basically the lap. All right, the next event is called Scene 6 Take 2. For this one, I highly recommend the Taycan Turbo S or the Turbo S Thunder Edition. The Thunder Edition is a little bit better. It's got a wider body, handles a little bit better. Anyways, it's super important that you follow my tune on this car. If you do not have your final gear, your final drive minimized down to like maybe -10, -13, 14, something in that range. If you don't have that, the car is not going to accelerate like you need it to. Now, it's already kind of crazy with acceleration without that, but trust me, put that down to -10 at least. See how you do on this one. Anyways, this lap is not really that tricky. There's just some certain things that you need to watch out for. So the first is when you're coming through this main section here, you've just hit your first lap. You want to stay as wide as possible because it is pretty easy to miss this turn. And if you're not wide, then the angle gets kind of weird and you end up having to hit that jump or you run into the side of this thing. So stay wide, that way you can make this turn here. The next thing is I recommend doing wall rides on these 2 really sharp turns. Now I found that if you hit this sort of nose first at an angle, the car bounces enough to where you don't get as much of a slowdown. The other option is to drift into it and hit the back of the car first. So I don't know, it's kind of up to you what you want to do. I'd say try to control yourself on this turn. Don't drift it, just grip it the whole way And when you get to here, again, NOS a little bit and watch the angle. See, I'm hitting it at like a little bit of an angle. Now you do get a slowdown with this, but I found this to be way more consistent than trying to drift it and hit it with the back of the car. Because the back of the car, you're going really, really fast, and then it drops your speed down to like 40 miles an hour. But for this, I found a little bit of success by hitting it at an angle like this and sort of bouncing the car. So you still get the slowdown, but look, it only went to 48 at the very, very center of the corner, and then I was back up to 100 just like that. So on this final straight, get yourself up over 200 miles an hour. Another tip here is with this tune on this car, do not use NOS past 200 miles an hour. Just get it up. 207 is basically where you're going to be if you have a -10 final drive. Just get it to 207 and stop pressing the NOS button. If you keep pressing it, it's just a waste of NOS. Obviously, on the final straight, use everything all the way to the finish line. But anyways, that's the lap. Let's move on. All right, the next event is called Scenic Drive, and this is with the 718 Spider. I used the regular 718 Spider, but you're more than welcome to use the fitted edition if you have it. The top of the leaderboard is using the fitted edition, but for me, I just don't like the way it handles compared to this one. I felt more comfortable here, and thus I was running faster times. So it's totally up to you what you end up using. There's a few cuts in this particular race, but I'll be honest with you, the majority of this race, the key to this race is going to be your gutter turns. If you do not know how to gutter, I have a guide on that. I'll link it in the description for you guys, but guttering is extremely important as I miss a gutter here. Anyways, there is one cut and reset here at the beginning. So you'll go right across here and make sure you go in front, not at the checkpoint. Don't go through the checkpoint, go in front of the checkpoint and reset your car. This will put you at a straight line going into it and you're good to go. Like I said, gutter turns, very, very important. There's a couple of like optional shortcuts you can take, but to be honest with you, they're not really worth it in my opinion because the time that you save is pretty minimal and they're fairly difficult. I'll go ahead and point those out here in just a second. All right, at the bottom of this hill where you hit the jump, it's important to make sure you hit the gap between this, this wall here. If you hit these, it slows you down. Makes you use more NOS in the air. When you use your NOS in the air, don't use it on the way up, use it on the way down or at the very peak of the jump. So that way you don't overshoot this checkpoint. These checkpoints do not go like to infinity up. They are literally right there. You have to hit in that zone. So make sure you're doing that. NOS in the air is important here. Now on this turn here, it's important to grab gutter. I barely touched it. That can be done better for sure. And on this one, if you have a hard time with gutter turns, on this particular turn at 34, you can run straight to this checkpoint and reset. But guttering is definitely going to be faster here on both of these turns. After you go through those, you're going to make a left here and cut across the dirt. Your visual cue is going to be this tree here. This little tree, just going to go right after it. Head towards the tents. Don't hit this candy cane. I almost did. And then your first optional shortcut is going to be here. You can actually cut through this grass, much like we do on the grand races. I think this big gap between these two trees is probably the best place to do it. And you can cut over to the checkpoint. I don't feel like it saves you enough time for it to be worth it, but if you do hit it, you probably could save a little bit. I went ahead and opted for the gutter instead. And then there's another cut here. If you notice on the mini map, this road is kind of, U-shaped, and the checkpoint is on the back side of this U shape. So you can actually cut directly through this, all of these trees here, go straight towards the checkpoint and reset after you've gone through it. You hit the checkpoint backwards, reset. But for me, it was much more consistent to just go around, and I didn't save as much time because going through the trees is a little bit difficult, and you're gonna be hitting stuff. It's hard to get through there without hitting stuff. So anyways, I preferred to go around. Now, aside from that, there are a couple of little corner cuts here at the end. 92%. You can cut this corner a little bit on the left, then cut this corner on the right just after the houses. And that's it. You're on the home stretch. All right, let's move on. All All right, the last event is called Kahului Tour. I think I said that right. I don't know. I'm terrible at pronunciations. I can't even pronounce pronunciations. Anyways, this is with the DBS. This one can be frustrating because there's lots of uneven road, lots of curb cuts, lots of jumps and bumps, and it's just kind of frustrating. So lines are going to be important here, and that's starting with this very first left-hand turn. It is pretty difficult to not hit this wall. So you got to really cut it at an angle to where you're, you know, it's like a sharp left turn. And I still kind of almost tapped the wall there. Anyways, you're going to want to use NOS in the air where you can. So like right here. And then again right here. Make sure you're pointing to the left. You have to go through this little section here. Slow down for this right-hander. This is kind of a tight right-hander. Try to stay as wide as possible on the left here, as this one ends up being tight as well. I end up drifting over too much and hitting the wall, but no big deal. Cut right at this flag at 23. Go through the presence. There you go. Straight through here. Then you're going to want to control your speed on this particular turn. Don't use the curb because it'll throw you off for sure. Again here, control speed. And then you can kind of cut these two corners. I hit the wall a little bit. A lot harder than I wanted to hit the wall. I would stay left here so you don't have to hit that first jump. Hit this second jump. Don't worry about going too fast. Just sort of steer the car away from the wall as much as possible when you get there. You're not going to be able to slow down if you're using NOS in the air there. Not really a big deal though. Now on this upcoming turn, I think I messed this up in this clip. I did. I ended up going really, really wide on this. If you control your speed here and you cut in early enough, you can kind of go through these presents or this tree and cut this corner. I missed it and ended up, you know, hitting the curb a little bit. Again, control your speed on this turn as well and cut really, really tight to the left because there's a little bump. Here, let me back up. Basically, if you're not right where I drove, if you're any farther to the right, the front of the car pops up. You'll have no steering and you'll end up on the right side after this jump. Just really try to cut that as tight as possible. NOS in the air if you can. You're basically home free, but there is one more tip I'll give you here. Basically, the very last turn in this is a turn that you can take completely full throttle. Like, you don't have to slow down at all. This left-hander, completely full throttle. Just take it. You've got lots of room. The drain just kind of like opens up on the right side there. You're good to go. So anyways, that's it for this one. All right, here are my 3 feats. I'll let them play out as always, and then we'll hit you with the final scores in just a moment. All right, here are my final scores. Remember, you can DM me with any questions you might have. I answer every single message that comes my way, whether it's on Instagram or Discord. Just send me a DM. I will answer. All right, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Hope this helps. I will catch you on the next one. Trigger out.